What's up, beautiful beings, and welcome to Evolving with Jackie Gasa. Welcome to another episode. If you're a returning subscriber, that's what's up. And if you are new here, welcome to the space of healing, the space of purpose, the space of love, the space of joy, the space of igniting each other's purposes. Okay, so in this video, we are going to be looking into shadow work 101. Okay, what is shadow work? We're going to be looking at the real reason you feel stuck. The real reason sometimes we get stuck in things that we shouldn't be getting stuck in. Because we are about evolution so that we can be the best version of ourselves. So if we are stuck, it means that there is no movement. It means that we are not in alignment. So I am here to fix all of that. We need to be in alignment, okay? Because I want us to be good together. I want us to heal together and be on this journey together. Sometimes we feel stuck, right? And we tend to blame God a lot, and we get into a spiral of why me, abanye bantu, because the spirit of comparison. Okay, so when you feel like that, right, it's important to, I always say this, draw yourself back to yourself, because it means that your energy is everywhere else besides your own body. You are feeding off of everybody's energy except yours, except the energy that actually matters. Pray, we fast, we try to manifest, we work hard, we do this, we journal, we do all of this work. Why? Because deep down we feel like we don't have it. Because deep down we feel like, we should be doing something more. We need to earn it. So today we're going to look and dive deep into shadow work. And a lot of people don't want to do the shadow work. People don't want to look into the sides of themselves that, are embarrassing. The sides of themselves that are you feel ashamed of, and that's why they'll be like, oh, shadow work. It's because nobody wants to look into their own shadow. Even I'm one of them. Sometimes I don't want to reflect on my shadow because it means that I have to acknowledge that I'm a human being, and maybe people like being perfect, you know what I mean? So it's my life path to be perfect. Okay, so anything that is not perfect is, so most of the time we feel stuck because we get into a spiral of, we feel like we have lack of opportunities, lack of money, lack of support, lack of guidance, lack of, do you get where I'm going with this, and that lack of also comes with spiritual attacks. So the reason that happens is we are spiritual beings. Everything manifests first in the spiritual. We are a spiritual manifestation before we are a physical manifestation. So this basically means that everything happens in the spirit. If you get defeated in the spirit, that means that nothing is going to go for you. So usually when we reflect upon the word lack, it means that we do not have. If you do not have, because God is in abundance, that means that you are not in alignment with God. You're not in alignment with God's promises, right? So when you are not in alignment with God's promises, it means that you are in a lower vibration. Lower vibration, what is that? Lower vibration looks like, desire. It looks like envy. It looks like jealousy. It looks like, all the negative energies, lust, and then all of these things. I'll put a table here or a chart or something like that that will show the emotional frequencies, right? So God is a God of a higher frequency, is a God of enlightenment, love, spirit, all the light, nice energy, like good flowing energy, right? When you're in these negative energies, of lower vibration or these negative emotion, right? So they're negative because they do not feel good. We're not judging them, they just don't feel good, right? So these are negative emotions that the devil likes to play around. That's why I believe that it's called the shadow self, right? It's the shadow work. That's where the devil, plays around with emotions, making you feel like you're not good enough, and then all of these things, like just doing the most. Because he be working overtime, he works more than you can ever work. That's why it's important to align with God, so that, at least in the spiritual realm, it could. So this also leads us when we are in the low vibrations of not being grateful, because if you're low vibration, that means that you cannot be grateful for what you have. So if you're being ungrateful, that means that you're not in alignment with God again, right? So if you're not in alignment with God, it means that now you need to readjust your frequency. Just adjust your frequency. That's why we have negative charges, we have positive charges, we have negative energies, we have positive energies. So you have to think positively instead of negatively, right? So you attract more positive thoughts and positive things towards yourself. And I know we talk about this all the time, but I'm going to get into how to attract these positive thoughts to begin with. So when you're in the negative spiral of negative emotions, you tend to attract spiritual attacks, right? Because people who are vibrating at that level that you're now vibrating in, which is the level of mistrust, negative emotions, envy, jealousy, and all of that. So it means that those people now have access to you because you are vibrating in the same frequency of fear. They like using fear a lot. They like using lust. They like using all of these negative emotions to travel through the frequencies. I don't know how they do that, but clearly, they know the covenants that they make. Despite lack of opportunities, lack of success, lack of this, lack of all of these things, they are not still enough reason for you to feel stuck. Because God is the God of abundance. When I see nature, I love reflecting on the beauty that is God. I feel like there's nothing more calming and meditative than watching nature. The other day I saw a video of, I think we were watching, I forgot the name of it. I'll put it somewhere here. So as we were watching it with my husband and our kids, so I realized something. I saw this fish that looks really weird. It had a big head, like big cheeks, and all of that. And I saw an image of a human being that looks like that. And in that moment, it clicked that there is no such person that is ugly. There's no such thing as an ugly person. We're just different forms of creation. And it was so crazy. I'll look for the animal. I'll put it somewhere here so that if you remember, I'll look for it and find it. I don't know the name of the fish. Because the ocean, life in the ocean is so expensive, and in the spiritual culture, we made to think that, hey, there is what, the spiritual marines, they what, hey, in the waters, if you go into the waters, hey, there's the powers, hey. And then you find the Western people just diving inside the water with cameras and coming back with a nice, beautiful fish that you've never seen. I'm not saying anything, but perhaps we are brainwashed. So we said that the shadow self is where the devil plays. However, your shadow self has nothing to do with the devil. It's not evil, So we have both negative and positive, or positive and negative emotions, right? So the reason we have these positive and negative emotions because we are made of energy. Everything comes from energy. Energy cannot be created or destroyed, can only be transformed from one form to another, which also makes God source energy one, right? And I used to wonder growing up, then if energy cannot be created or destroyed, does that mean energy is God? And I got that answer. Most of the time, there are things that we go through, such as limiting beliefs. I've shared a video of the negative beliefs that we usually encounter, especially as South Africans, So those are some of the things that can make you feel stuck because you want to express yourself. However, there's people who feel like you shouldn't express yourself. There's people who feel like you should feel the way they do. You should behave the way they do. You should amount to whatever they could amount to, and you find that they're not even trying in their lives, and you must be one of those people that are not trying because they're not trying, and because they're not trying, they want you to be at their level for the rest of your life, which is not fair. Okay, guys, if you're choosing to not grow, stay with that energy, but misery loves company. Okay, so we have those limiting beliefs, limiting stories that we tell ourselves, that people tell us, because when you grew up like this and all of these things, you're not supposed to get this, you're not supposed to be smart, you're not supposed to want more, you're not supposed to thrive, you're not supposed to, because other people feel like they have put themselves in that box, that they would want to put you in a box, and literally so, so those are the things that we normally don't talk about. Also, old fears and emotional wounds, whether our parents created the emotional wounds or whether we create the emotional wounds in our own minds, or what, it's constantly fears. And the devil loves working with childhood wounds. Now you feel like you need to self-medicate yourself because you went through trauma. And not disregarding any traumatic experience, I've been through my own traumatic experiences, right? So however, I realized that the only time that event actually exists is in your mind, because it does not exist in the present moment. Right now, as you're watching this video, that moment does not exist. However, it is natural for our bodies to want to feel negative, because for some reason, even if you get a negative comment, you are most likely to believe a negative comment and take it and make it your own, rather than someone complimenting you. When someone compliments you, you're easy to just leave it out because positivity feels foreign to you. And the reason it feels foreign to you is because we are surrounded by so many societal beliefs, and sometimes we embody those beliefs. And as children, there's also beliefs that we make about ourselves. What do I mean? What do you mean, Jackie? Like, for example, you would have a situation where maybe a schooling and you had to go to a trip, and whether it was you didn't have the transport money or you didn't have money for your shoes, all of these things, we take those experiences and we embody them to know it means anina, and we are here, and we forget that we are here on earth just to experience life, right? Whether you're experiencing the poverty side of it or you're experiencing the rich side of it, at the end of the day, life is about the yin yang. That's why you find with the people who are rich, they don't really have it that easy, because life is all about challenges. And you find the rich people actually wanting to come I want to feel hood, I want to experience the hood. And when you're in the hood, you're like, dude, I want to be in the suburbs, I want to have the caves, so it's just that balance. You need to have a sense of gratitude and calmness and just thankfulness for the present moment, and what Jesus said, do not worry about tomorrow, because tomorrow has its own problems, because today has its enough problems. So just face every day as it is, and you won't feel stuck. The problem starts also when we go into the future. As much as we go into the past, we also be going into the future, trying to control the future, trying to make sure that our kids are okay in the future, and we forget that God is the source of that life. God is the source of your life. God is the source of my life. God is the source of every life. God is the source of everything. God is the source of this world, of this age, of this video, of that. So this also translates into suppressing memories, right? So it's very good to have a good memory. However, it's also important to understand the event probably did not happen the way you imagined it. That's why when you go to court, they don't just take one statement, they ask you in different type of ways to actually find out if you're telling the truth or not, right? So it's also important to understand that this is because as you are growing as a person, we are growing, we are constantly evolving. Humankind has been evolving for years and years, right? So this means that there is different identities that we take upon in every situation, whether it's a fight, whether it's motherhood, fatherhood, whether it's taking up a career and getting the title. Like for example, if you go and you become a cashier or a security, right? Let's say it's your first job, and then you take the title and you wear it. You find out you'll be that person for the next 20 years, but you haven't grown that person who needed that first job. You know what I mean? So it's important to evolve. So that's why you feel stuck, because your inner self, your soul, is asking you to evolve. It's asking for more. It wants more. It's striving for more. Your soul, your spirit, it's burning you inside because it wants more. Usually you're not stuck because you're lazy or you can't come up with ideas, because in the day the ideas come from God, right? Even the willpower and all of that, they come from God, right? So you're feeling stuck because there is a younger version of you, inner child healing again, that feels stuck, that wants to express itself, and also living in survival mode that we were put upon by our upbringing. Also not blaming our parents, because they also grew up in a system that did not really support dreams and growth and all of these things, right? And you find that sometimes relationships can get our parents stuck, so it's important to also discern, because it's sad if you marry or you fall in love with someone who hates you and you find out later on in life. What is shadow work, right? So shadow work is how I understand it, right? Is that we have the yin and the yang. So we have a balance of the light and the darkness, right? So in light there's darkness, and in darkness there's light, right? So with the yin and the yang, how I understand it also is that the light we usually we're aware of, right? It creates awareness, it creates brightness and all of these things. However, there is the darkness that is or within us, or that is us, that sometimes we turn to neglect, right? And that's where now I call it the devil's playground, because it tends to use those emotions to convince you that you're not good enough. How does it translate? It translates as negative thoughts. It translates as feeling like you're not good enough. It feels like feeling stuck. It feels like you cannot express yourself. It feels like you should be doing something but you can't. It feels like giving up in life. It feels like going through traumatic experiences and all of these things, right? Because usually when you are in a frequency, or when you are in a thought process of negative thoughts, so it can be things like I don't feel worthy of this opportunity, and we tend to also see like an opportunity in that sense, because we do not feel worthy. So that emotion, it takes you away from who you're supposed to be and who you're supposed to ascend and evolve into. That when that happens, it's usually because that's where the frequency is, whether you believe in the devil or not. However, the darkness and light does exist. That's why the sun comes out in the morning, to signify that there is indeed a separation of the darkness and the light. So when you shine light, or when you reflect on the darkness, it means that you acknowledge those emotions that you usually feel. You acknowledge the fact that you feel like you're not good enough. We're not going to disregard the fact that you feel it, However, we're not going to judge it. We're not going to suppress it. We're not going to, be like, no, we show care to that emotion. We show love to that emotion. How do you show love and care to an emotion? So it looks like acknowledging it. So yes, I do feel like I'm not worthy. I feel like I'm not worthy of this opportunity, and it comes with also writing it down. So what I like about writing things down is that it helps me take it out of my mind on a piece of paper. So I once listened to John Proctor, may his soul rest in peace. So he used to like writing, especially with his left hand. However, he said writing, when you write, you take the idea from your mind and you put it down on paper, and from there you are able to distinguish yourself from the paper and understand that the problem is not within you. You can identify the problem, and as you identify the problem, then it becomes easier for you to separate yourself from the problem and see it from different perspective. So what he would do, or what I also do now, is that I will put it down on a piece of paper and then I'll look at it from different perspective. From a husband perspective, how does the issue look? From a different person perspective, I try to look at it from a different perspectives, that perhaps it's just my perspective at that specific moment that makes it bigger, or makes the problem bigger than what it is. So there is also a version of myself that was bullied, and for some reason I never understood it. Like, people always try me. They're trying to see, they're trying to test, before now, but yeah, something like that, right? So it started in primary. Right, so these girls decided, because they have a group, then they're gonna, and they decided who's gonna be the leader of the group. And because I don't want to join the group, and another thing is, I was living in Limpopo until I did grade 3. Grade 4, that's when I moved to Ekangala. So now I was also the new kid at school, which now everybody just wanted to be on my head. And I let it go for a while, until at some point, like, you just need to put your foot down, like, some things are unnecessary. However, if you experience bullying, that means that there's a part of you that felt like you needed to suppress yourself. You needed to feel small to make somebody else feel big, because they were feeling small within themselves, So it's also important to acknowledge that version of yourself, because that version of yourself concluded or saw life from a different perspective, right? So healing, Jackie Gasa, looks like acknowledging that, Jacqueline, look to your girl, you fought, and it was not easy for me to stand up to all of those girls. It was not easy, but I just didn't want to conform. I've never been anyone to conform to any standard, or seeing someone as my leader. No, I'd rather chill alone. But I also had other friends that I'll chill with that did not want or need a leader. I would rather be the leader. Yes, I am your leader. Hey. That's just me though. So there's also a version of yourself that felt like you were not good enough, whether it was in a relationship, honey, because some relationships puts us through a lot. Yeah, I decided to see, because you are, or you see yourself as this version, they're gonna. I've seen also a trend on TikTok, hey, like, people be going through a lot because of, someone trying to suppress this version of you that they feel they cannot tame. And it goes both ways, male or female. Also a version of you that feels guilty for wanting more, right? Filangati, when you want more, you're ungrateful. And it's important to have gratitude as a foundation. I see gratitude as a foundation, and then everything else lapo siaka. We are building up. So how far are you going up? How far are we going? What more do we want? Because, like Abraham Hicks always says, it's about putting things into the vortex. Put things into the vortex. What do you want? And it was, I don't know if I should share this, but I was just weird the other day when my husband was telling me the projects that he has done. I feel like I manifested him in my mind. I don't know. If you get it, you get it. If you don't get it, forget about it. There is also a version of yourself, or of ourselves, that has started all over again, over and over again. all right? And sometimes that when you start all over, that means that you feel like you failed. So it's important to understand that failure is not failure, it's lessons. That's why I'm on motivational speakers. They'll be like, you did not fail, it's just the foundation, because that's how you need to see it. Otherwise, if you feel like you fail, that emotion ain't good, and the devil likes that emotion. And failure and God, they're not in alignment. Just always think of it like that. Does this emotion resonate with the highest division of God? Like I always see like this. Does this emotion, does it have love? Does it feel secured? If it's not secure, that means I'm anxious. That means that there's a thought that is making me anxious. What am I anxious about? What am I thinking about? Okay, and then from there, it just happens. Revelation after revelation, because at the end of the day, we are expected to know ourselves from the day we were born. You're supposed to know, go to but no. Life is not all about that. Life is about exploring ourselves and learning ourselves, relearning ourselves, and reprogramming ourselves, and understanding ourselves, having a relationship with ourselves every single day. Every single day. This is the world. We are all in our own worlds. We see the world from our own perspective. My perspective right now is not the same perspective that I had in the morning. It's not the same perspective as someone else. So that's just life, right? So it's all about rewiring and basically just see your body as a computer and just become the programmer. So there is another version that feels like blessings come with punishment. So this one goes out to my ancestors, our ancestors who fought for us to have this freedom, all right? So for them wanting more meant getting whipped and being in chains and getting punished. So we need to also release that generational, suffocation of not being able to want more, feeling restricted and stuck. Because at the end of the day, that emotion also runs in our blood. It runs in our blood because it was an intense emotion. It's not an emotion that you can just let go of it. And it's up to us, this generation of healing, to actually heal it. I'm not sure we are going through healing processes, so let's heal it. And I love the fact that I've seen so many people that are also on this healing journey, and it's beautiful to see we are coming out alive and well and making our ancestors proud. So these are the signs that you need shadow work. All right, you sabotage opportunities. So even when you're writing that CV, what is your energy around that CV? Do you feel like you're gonna get the job? Do you feel like I'm sebenzi? Do you feel like, what is your emotion when you're writing that CV, when you're writing that business profile or whatever that you are doing? What is your energy around it? What is the energy that you're investing? Is it a positive energy or a negative energy? Another sign is you fear failure. You also fear success. Both of them. So you're stuck. Because if you're scared of failure, then you might never succeed. If you're scared of success, you might never fail. And they all go hand in hand. You tend to shrink yourself, shrink your voice. This is where now narcissists thrive. I'm telling you, narcissism thrives in shrinking your voice. Don't ever do that. Don't shrink your voice. I'm not saying be disrespectful. I'm not saying say something that you shouldn't. But all I'm saying is narcissism and shrinking your voice, same WhatsApp group. Same WhatsApp group. If I never bullying, they're trying to silence you. They're trying to make you feel small. And you turn to overgive. So this also goes a lot with empaths, right? So we have empaths and narcissists. So if you are an empath, it means that you're giving, you're nurturing, you're neutral. So usually the scale must balance. Usually they attract the narcissists, the ones that want to be served, right? So it's important to understand when you're overgiving, and even when you give, it's important to allow yourself to receive, because there's nothing wrong with receiving as much as there's nothing wrong with you giving. You turn to procrastinate on the things that you want. I have been a victim of this myself, of procrastinating, but now I don't do that. I don't procrastinate. I want it done so that I can have peace of mind. I love my peace of mind over no procrastination. I'd rather just do it now and deal with it. I understand now why my ancestors dealt with what they needed to deal with when they had to deal with it and not think about it. It actually takes longer to do it in your mind. I'm telling you, it takes longer to do it in your mind. You find that you've been thinking about it for 2 hours and it's like 15 minutes, and by the time you're doing it for 15 minutes, it feels like you have been doing it for so long because you've thought about it so long that you've done the activity a lot in your mind. So I just deal with it. So you feel triggered easily, or you avoid conflict, right? So yeah, there's always people who are always triggered, like already, like, or they avoid conflict. And I saw this post too. Sometimes, narcissism, the narcissist will be the one to want the conflict or feel triggered, and then the empath will be now the one to serve with the emotions again, and avoid conflict. And you also feel guilty to rest. I have said this a lot of times, that I learned how to not feel guilty for resting. Like, I would give myself a good 2 hours sometimes and just to rest during the day and not feel guilty about it. And everybody else will just have to understand, that it's my me time. It's my time to take a nap. It's my time. It's my time. And sometimes you also can feel bad for disappointing people. You're trying to show up for every single person. That will also make you feel stuck, because that means, when are you giving time to yourself? When are you having time for your things? When are you having time for yourself? When are you investing your energy in yourself? And that also causes resentment eventually. So all of these things that I have mentioned are not personality traits, right? They're shadow traits that need to be looked into, right? So you don't identify yourself with all of these emotions that I have mentioned. This is why shadow work feels scary, right? So we most of the time are scared that if I change this person that I am and become more, I wouldn't say selfish, but more into self, right? Like doing your self-care routine or whatever it's all about. The moment where you're having time for self, you can feel guilty. But what if when I change, this person is not gonna love me, what if when I change this personality trait, what if this person doesn't like me anymore? What if they like the toxic me? What if they like the yelling me? What if they like the triggered me? What if they, So it's hard also to change who you are, because you're thinking about the people that may be affected by you changing. However, it's important to understand that you are evolving as a person, and those who love you will evolve with you, or they will support your evolution. And another belief is, if I face this, I will break, right? If you face the trauma, if you face the neglect, if you face the horrific event, then it will break you. And you find most of the time that it actually makes you stronger, especially if you don't identify yourself as what happened to you. I always used to find it very difficult when someone would identify themselves. Like, I don't identify myself as any of the identifications that are in the world. I identify myself with what I want to identify as, and I expect to be addressed as that, because that's who I have chosen to be. And at the end of the day, it's my life. Why you gotta choose what I am? Why you gotta choose? Why do you want to make the final decision? Like, why do you want to make the final decision? No, make a final decision about your life. Okay, that's why we each have different lives. And another belief is that if I heal, I will lose people. Yes, you will most likely lose people, especially the people who resonated with you when you were in the frequency of lack of, frequency of emotional hurt, the frequency of, like people. There will be people who cling to that and who will love that version of you so much that when you become a different version, that they can't resonate anymore. They can't relate. Yeah, I know a lot of people that I can't relate to. That I had to shrink myself. Sometimes it will be in a setting and I'll just have to keep quiet. Because I don't wanna But if you come at me, yeah, maybe I should stop thinking that people come at me. They've came at me so many times. I think that's why we're having this healing session, because I am so used to people coming at me, especially if I'm silent, that when I talk sometimes it's like intimidating, because people sometimes, I was even telling my husband, I don't get why people expect me to be dumb when I'm quiet, and then when I start talking, it's like, I don't know what that is. And another belief is that if I outgrow this, then I'll be outgrowing something familiar, which is the hardest one, right? It sounds so easy, but it's the hardest one, because something familiar feels safe, it feels comfortable, right? It feels like something that and then now something familiar is like you're going to a different environment, a foreign environment, and a lot of people get comfortable where they are so much that they build a life around there, and there's nothing wrong with that. If that's what you want to do with your life. However, if you want to be an evolving person, you have to be open to new experiences, right? Open. So when that negative thought that thought, let's not judge the thought, right? So when that thought comes through and it's like, no, don't go anywhere. I mean, kumna dilana, your soul is here, everything is here, and your soul is like, I wanna go. That it's important to disassociate yourself from the familiar and be open to new experiences. That's what I also learned, and I have been moving ever since. So yeah, I believe in movement because my moon is in Sagittarius and my rising is in Gemini. So let's go. I'm spontaneous. How to understand that the ego protects, right? So the ego is your identity, it protects, and your shadow hides. However, your soul is always waiting. And some people, we even had their last day on earth waiting. Their soul has been waiting, and the souls. So don't be one of those people who have their souls waiting. Remember that whenever you feel stuck, it's your soul just wanting to feel free and express itself. However, your identity or the identity that you have built wants to feel safe. So how do we do shadow work? How do we work on our shadow? How do we, now that we have established we have a shadow self, how do we work on it? Right. So we start with asking ourselves questions. Like, question that I always like asking myself is, why am I feeling like this? What is it about this feeling that is trying to teach myself? Where did this feeling come from? And the reason I started asking those questions is because I realized that I am a neutral person. Like Mina, I have neutral energy. I've learned to neutralize my energy, and from there we can either go up or down. Right. So you neutralize your energy usually with meditation. So I know and understand my energy on a meditation or energetical level, right? So when I interact with someone, then it's easy for me to notice when my emotions change based on the interaction, whether that person is anxious or whatever, right? However, I have also been good with that even before a younger age. So it's part of also intuition, learning to read the room. That's where now the questions came in, understanding my emotions, understanding why am I feeling like this, so that I can also separate myself from the emotion and understand it for what it is, which is my energy being translated in motion. Second question would be, whose voice is this limiting belief, right? Is it my voice? Is it God's voice? Where does it come from? What is it saying? How is it saying it? Is it supportive? Does it make me feel good? And usually writing it down is very important so that you can identify it very fast. Another self-inquiry is what will happen if I succeed. What's the worst that can happen if I succeed, right? You probably lose the people that you love, but if you lose the people you love through your success, then were they supposed to be there in the first place? I don't know. Yeah, but I'm not saying lose you, because not every family is the same. Some families are supportive, loving, and all of these things. We're just also realistic here, because we're dealing with human beings at the end of the day. Another question that I ask myself is, which version of myself is leading now? I know a version of myself that is confident. I know a version of myself that is not so confident. So it's important to also distinguish which version is coming out to show tonight, because you might find yourself on stage in front of people and then you're mumbling and mumbling and mumbling. Maybe it might not be a stage, it might be something else. You might find Luti, it's creative art. Maybe you're doing a painting and then now you feel discouraged, because there is this voice that keeps saying whatever that it feels like it needs to say in that moment. Apart from the questions, we can also notice the triggers, right? So when you notice what is triggering you in that moment, and then from there you can start observing it and questioning it, those questions. So it's like you ask the questions and then you notice the trigger. In that moment, you hold it, we beg it, and just pay attention to it. So like I said, we don't try to control the trigger, we don't try to suppress it, we don't try to make us feel bad and all of these things. No, you can just say, flee away from me, devil, flee, balega, satanic, balega. Try to play here, nobody got time for that. We're the chosen ones, okay? It's all about observing your emotion without fear and shame, right? So we are overcoming the shadow. It's all about overcoming the shadow, because the shadow has been overcome. When sadness arises, just hold your heart chakra and say, I see you, I feel you, I acknowledge you, and I love you. And I let you go. Thank you for identifying with me. Thank you for being with me throughout these years. However, in this moment, I let go of this feeling with love. I was not expecting that too, but it felt so good. So this is a reparenting and reintegration. So what we actually doing is just speaking to ourselves, right? Having a relationship with ourselves, because the relationship that you have with yourself is the relationship that you're gonna have with other people, right? So it's important to reparent yourself and be the parent that you wished you had to yourself. Just need to apart, So when that voice, the shadow comes in, be that parent, to be like, hey, to choose an identity, So I choose an identity every day. However, there's some identities that I cannot, run away from, like being a mom, being a wife, being a boss bee, being a boss bee, standing on business, like this my type of energy. So reinventing yourself every day. But as a man thinketh, so is he is. Yes, so as you think, you shall be. So you can ask yourself questions like, who do I want to be now? And it's important to understand that you get to evolve, you get to feel good, you get to rewrite the script, you get to choose again and again and again. Every day is an opportunity to choose again and again and again. So what happens when you do shadow work? You stop repeating cycles, right? You stop attracting the same person, because now the same thought that got you into the relationship, the same thought the same version over and over again that you know that you don't like. Now you get to see where is that thought coming from? Why are you thinking like that? Why is that thought attracting people like that? So you stand on your worth, right? I remember at some point I think already standards chaka because don't lower your standards. Whatever you do, don't lower your standards. Okay, stand on your worth, right? And it's important to understand it's not for everyone. Marriage is not for everyone. Commitment is not for everyone. So it's important to understand what it's also okay to love yourself and be with yourself, right? And that's what I was doing. I've always been in love with myself. I just knew I'm a person that will need a companion because I know my personality. I'm too playful. I need foundation. I need balance. I'm so fun. Like I have a fun energy. The Gemini rising, and my moon is the Sagittarius. Like as much as I can take things seriously, I'm also such a fun person that I need someone who's more straight and balanced, like a companion. However, you find who's bambela, and there's nothing wrong with that. In fact, it's even seen as a better, a better decision to be by yourself and be celibate. When you do shadow work, you make aligned decisions, right? And it also goes with aligned relationships, whether partnership, collaborations, or whatever that you're doing, right? That's where now you're more aligned with your shadow work because you are not self-sabotaging, you're not sabotaging opportunities with thoughts that you don't even know where they're coming from because you're not even aware of them to begin with, You trust yourself more and you feel lighter, right? So when you trust yourself, then you're not putting pressure on yourself, you're not indecisive, sometimes you don't know in which direction to go. However, when you do shadow work, you're able to understand and identify which path is more brighter or is more in alignment with your highest version, which is the version that God wants to express he herself through you. You also feel safe in your body. Namaste. You feel safe in your heart. You feel safe in all that you do, right? So yes, you feel also in alignment with God when you do your shadow work because you're able to also hear the voice of God clearly. He says, "Be still and know that I am God." So it's in that stillness, right, where we integrate our shadow, we integrate who we are, and namaste. Happiness and spiritual alignment comes from also integrating the shadow with the light. So if this video resonated with you, it's important to remember that you are not stuck. You're being invited to evolve and move forward. When water is stuck, it gets rotten, it gets bitter. However, water needs to flow. So as we are flowing with Jackie Gasa, let us flow into abundance, into love, into all that is well and all that is good. Thank you so much for sharing at this moment with me as I was teaching about shadow work and the things that work for me and all of that. So let me not bore you, but I hope to see you in the other videos. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe and do the right thing. Yeah. Bye.